Welcome to the Humanities Team podcast with me, Steve Farrell. Humanities Team is an international spiritual movement whose purpose is to communicate and demonstrate the timeless truth that we are all one, with the divine and all life, caring for each other and the world we share, so that people's actions reflect this profound understanding within our generation. We believe that living this truth is essential to resolving the most chronic and acute world challenges and vital to creating a flourishing world of peace, harmony, and happiness. We offer transformative education programs in personal and spiritual development, and we host an annual event called Global Oneness Day. Similar to Earth Day, which galvanized the global environmental movement, Global Oneness Day has become a catalyst for spiritual activism and an integral part of the present-day global oneness movement, which represents a profound new paradigm in human culture. Humanities Team is the only global nonprofit organization working in transformational education. Since we are a nonprofit, there is no focus on growing profits or satisfying shareholders, and 100% of all revenue goes toward our work supporting conscious evolution, planetary awakening, and flourishing at every level of life. If you'd like to learn more about us or want to support our mission directly through donation or volunteering some of your time, please visit us online at humanitiesteam.org. And lastly, if you enjoyed this podcast, we'd be grateful if you'd leave us a review. Welcome, everyone, to the Conversations with God panel. I'm Steve Farrell, the Worldwide Executive Director for Humanities Team, and happy Global Oneness Day, all of you, and thanks for joining us. This program will discuss important messages in Neale Donald Walsh's Conversations with God book series. As you probably know, the Conversations with God book series is much more than a book series. It reveals divine nature and wisdom. Personally, I feel it is unprecedented. Neale speaks with humility about this and shares that all of us are having conversations with God all of the time. And this is true, but still, the largest issues: who are we? How are we related to God? Why have we come into this life? What is our potential? What is our invitation now at this time in the Earth's evolution? All of these things and much more are explored in the 10-book series in a breadth and depth and from a universal heart that is almost unfathomable. You must read the material to understand what I mean. Also, the birth of Humanities Team is discussed in one of the books, Tomorrow's God, and the message, we are all one with God, each other, and all of life, is an important message threaded throughout the entire 10-book conversation. It was the impetus for Humanities Team's decision to create a Oneness Declaration in 2007 and then Global Oneness Day in 2010. During the Conversations with God series, Neale poses pressing questions to the God of his understanding, and then God responds clearly, deeply, and succinctly. During this program, we're going to review some of the profound wisdom shared during the Conversations with God series. Our objective is to share this wisdom so we may support personal and collective conscious evolution, leading to immediate and measurable change. We believe we can accelerate our own conscious evolution, effectively shape the world around us, and create planetary awakening by bringing this wisdom to Global Oneness Day and our everyday conversation and process. I'm going to introduce you to Neale now, and then we'll go right to questions and discussion. Neale Donald Walsh is a modern-day spiritual messenger whose words continue to touch the world in profound ways. With an early interest in religion and a deeply felt connection to spirituality, Neale spent the majority of his life thriving professionally, yet searching for spiritual meaning before experiencing his now famous Conversations with God. The Conversations with God series of books that emerged from those encounters has been translated into 37 languages, touching millions of lives and inspiring important changes in their lives on a day-to-day basis. And welcome to Global Oneness Day, Neale. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Steve. It's lovely to be here with you. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity.
Okay, and once again, I'm truly excited about this program. I believe it will make a substantial contribution to Global Oneness Day 2019. we've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's jump right in. And Neale, for those new to the message that we are all one, how might you describe this, and how is a person related to God? Is there a metaphor that you use that helps people to visualize this better?
Well, it's a wonderful question, and Steve, because when I was first allowed to understand that we are all one, and to understand the farthest reaching implication of that message, I was a bit puzzled about how it could be true. And when I say the farthest reaching message, I mean, it wasn't difficult, honestly, for me to understand that we are all one, meaning all human beings belong to the same family. That was reachable by my mind. But when I realized that the implication was not only are we one with each other, but that we are all one with God, then I had a little bit of a struggle with allowing myself to understand that God and we are the same thing, that we are all one. In that sense, it was a much larger implication. Then God said, well, see if you can understand if I give you a little metaphor. She said, imagine that you are a wave on the ocean, and give yourself permission to see yourself as that wave. Can you do that now? And I said, yes. And so I was visualizing myself as a wave on the ocean. And he said to me, now, Neale, as the wave rolls along the ocean, is it separate from the ocean in any way? I said, no, of course not. It's simply a rising from the ocean, but it's not separate from the ocean. It's not anything other than the ocean. It's simply the ocean in individuated form, in the form of this particular wave. God said, good. Now you get it. That's all you have to understand. And when the wave is complete with its particular manifestation, its particular expression, the wonderful expression, by the way, the powerful and beautiful expression of a wave on the ocean, when that expression is complete, it recedes back into the ocean itself, does it not? And I said, yes, that's exactly what I see happening in my mind's eye. And God said, and that's exactly the metaphor I want you to understand. Translate that into a spiritual principle, and you will understand all you need to understand. You are a wave on the ocean of divinity. So, she said, go out there and make waves.
Oh, man, that's what we're doing here on Global Oneness Day. So beautiful. Thank you, Neale. So then how can we awaken to the power and the glory of being divine, divinity expressed, and not just bestowed, and godliness experienced, and not just understood?
Well, I think the most powerful way I know of is to cause another to experience themselves in that way. I was told in conversations with God, anything that you wish to experience in your own life, be the cause of another experiencing it in their life. And that which flows through you sticks to you. So if you want to experience the wonder and the glory and the majesty of your true identity as an aspect and an individuation of divinity, cause another to experience precisely the same thing. Move through your life and allow everyone who you see, everyone your eyes light upon, allow them to become clear through you of who they really are. See the majesty and the glory and the wonder of them, and you will see the same thing in yourself. And there was a great teacher several thousand years ago who said basically the same thing, only much more beautifully, I thought. He said, do unto others as you would have it done unto you. And that's the principle, the metaphysical principle in a nutshell. And by the way, I want to notice that that's just about what every spiritual mentor and teacher through the years has done. They have moved through the world and seen others as an aspect of the majesty and the glory and the wonder of God. And that's been, in fact, their life work.
Wow. Beautiful, wonderful invitation in that. So Neale, what process do you recommend for creating connection through stillness and communing with the divine within you? One of the messages that comes through again and again, and you threaded through the book series, is if you don't go within, you go without.
The method that I use is, in fact, going within. It's just that. And there are several ways to do that. One of the ways that I love is what I call a stopping meditation. That is, I stop everything I'm doing for 10 seconds, And it's such an easy thing. I have to be honest. Some people get really sad when they hear me say this because they see me as a certain kind of person who gets up in the morning, at 3:30 or 4:30 in the morning every day and meditates for an hour and a half or whatever. I don't do that, actually. I don't have the patience for it. I never really developed the ability to have those long-term meditations. But then God said to me, Neale, I got a special one just for you. 6 times a day. I want you to do this 6 times a day. Stop everything you're doing for 10 seconds. Even in the middle of a sentence sometimes. Just stop whatever you're up to and give yourself the opportunity to just connect with me within you. It never fails. And it takes 10 seconds 6 times a day. And the very act of stopping what you're doing, all the busyness, all the stuff that you think that life is supposed to be about, all the imaginary to-dos on your to-do list, it all melts away. And then when you rejoin your to-do list, when you rejoin your so-called regular life, if you're having the experience I'm having, you do so from a totally different place, suddenly from a soft, gentle, aware, fully conscious, and completely connected place. It changes everything.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah, thanks for bringing that experiential process in, Neale. That's such a great reminder and such a great moment.
It's 1 minute a day. 10 seconds 6 times a day. It's 1 minute a day. One day I'm going to write a book, 1 minute a day. Because that's what we're talking about here. It doesn't have to be a big ordeal or a big process. It takes as long as you saw it take right here. And really, you can do it on the street. If you're walking on the street, just stop and just look away, and no one has to even know what you're doing. It's that. Don't do it while you're driving. I wouldn't suggest you do it behind the wheel, but almost any other place. You can do that. I also wouldn't do it when your wife is talking to you. That would not be a good idea. But with those 2 exceptions, give yourself permission to use this. You'll find it to be a very powerful tool.
Okay, beautiful. Neale, can you talk about creating a breathtaking life experience around the most glorious idea you have about yourself and your destiny for the future?
I'm not quite sure what it is that I'm wanting to say there.
And we could even tie it into, we're going to talk about the 5 steps to peace here in a moment, but that 5th step, live as the grandest version of the greatest vision that you've ever had about yourself.
I ask myself every day, what am I doing here? Why am I here? And when I begin to understand why I'm here and what I'm doing here has nothing to do with the ordinary things of life, which I just alluded to a minute ago. It's not about get the guy, get the girl, get the car, get the job, get the house, get the spouse, get the better car, get the better job. Excuse me. It's not about any of that. Those are the outpicturings. Those are the tools we can use to express what life really is about. But for me, when I answer the first question, who am I and what am I doing here? I see that I've come here to express and to experience the grandest notion I ever had about myself. So I want to ask people who are watching this right now a simple question. What would change, if anything? Maybe the answer is nothing. But what would change, if anything, in what you are thinking, saying, and doing if you thought that everyone else in the world, the whole world, was going to imitate you right now? Supposing that the whole world was going to imitate you tomorrow, what you're thinking, saying, and doing today, would that change in any way what you choose to say and do, and even what you choose to think? And supposing that you chose the highest idea you ever had about who you are, what if the grandest notion you ever had about you and about life and about God were all true? What if you could rely on the fact that, in fact, your highest idea about everything is true? And what if you stepped into the living of that with every word that proceeded from your mouth, with every thought that ran through your mind, that you allowed yourself to hold there? I'm not talking about random thoughts that just run through, but I mean thoughts that you hold there in the form of what I call beliefs. And what if every action that you undertook being measured by you, not by anybody else. Nobody is judging you, but being measured by you with that yardstick. Is this what divinity would do if I, in fact, was a demonstration of divinity? I think that if you look at the life of those we have called masters, I think you will observe fairly that these are the things, exactly the things that they did every moment of their lives.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow. And it's not an invitation we should be pushing away, should we? Because the whole invitation of life itself.
And what's interesting, Steve, is that as soon as you decide to embrace that way of living, to accept that invitation to the degree that it's possible to do so, and by the way, don't forget we're all human and divine at the same time. So don't expect yourself tomorrow to be walking on water, to be a walking saint. But give yourself permission to go to the highest place you can imagine yourself being in. And the remarkable implication of that I've discovered in my life is that as soon as you make that decision, make that commitment, life will bring you extraordinary opportunities with which to do it. You'll be just, maybe you say that morning, I'm going to try this just for this morning. And then let's say one of your tasks this morning is to make a quick run to the grocery store and pick up a few things for the house. So there you are in the grocery store, and suddenly the opportunity to be and to demonstrate your highest thought about yourself, that you are divinity expressed in physical human form, suddenly an opportunity to express in that way arises. I can't even describe, it could be any one of 100 ways that it arises, but you will discover that the store has been waiting for you all morning to show up, to give you an opportunity to experience that scenario. And you'll come home and you'll say to your family members, you're not going to believe what just happened to me at the grocery store. And if you're really observant, you'll be very clear that all of those events were generated by an idea you held about what you're doing here and who you are.
Yeah, I love it. And why accept any invitation less than that? And I also love in book 1 of Conversations with God, where it says life is a snowflake, where everything, there's nothing ever happening by chance. As you mentioned at the grocery store, there's these snowflake opportunities to demonstrate your highest and grandest self. It's beautiful.
And that Steve, if I could take that logic one step further, that's why we're here. See, we're not here by happenstance. We didn't come here to the earth by accident. This is not a coincidence. There are no coincidences in the universe. The aspect of ourselves that is a spiritual being placed itself in physical form on this planet at this time, at this precise moment, for the reasons that we are now discussing. So nothing happens by coincidence, not even, by the way, the fact that those of you who are watching this are watching this. Do you think it's a coincidence that you found yourself here listening to the words we are now exchanging between Steve and me? See, there are no coincidences. Even this very moment is a perfect example of that, an opportunity for you to say yes or to say no to the invitation of a lifetime. I'm going to write a book one day called The Invitation of a Lifetime.
Well, you probably should. Yeah, your books are all quite are very impactful. But the other thing, just related to this, before I go on, as I was sharing with you recently, Neale, as I was rereading the Conversations with God books, I caught something that I'd never caught before that is so meaningful to me, which is that the persons and places, the many of the events, many of the opportunities and challenges that we're invited to select those things by God before we come into this life, and of course, then we live the life. So it's not there's no practice. We just come into a life and we live it fully. But we actually get to choose the paint and the all of the materials as an artist before we come into our life, which is just another thing that, as we look at our own friendship or communion with God, how blessed are we, or what, that life works that way.
It's important to understand as well, we're even more blessed than people might think. Having said that, we also have been given the freedom to change our mind, to in fact follow the choices that we made when we were in the metaphysical form, or to change our mind and say, you know what, I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe I'll do that next week or next month or next year or next lifetime. So we are given this great opportunity in physicality to express and experience free choice, that every single moment of every single day, of every single year, of every single life, we have the opportunity to be and declare, to announce and fulfill, to become and to experience, to express who we really are by our definition, who we say we really are. And that is the process that is loosely called evolution. Yeah,
stunning. What a gift. What a gift. So this kind of leads into Conversations with God talks about metaphysics as the linchpin of the universe. And of course, you spent 3 months creating a program called Our Final Frontier, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. But you talk about in the program how metaphysics is the linchpin of the universe and how we can harness this power. Can you just share a little bit about that, Neale?
Well, there are two simple ways, just to give a little illustration. And these are two very powerful ways, by the way. The process that I call visualization, to actually visualize in my mind what it is that I would choose to experience and to express in me, as me, and through me. And the other is the power of thought, which is just a little bit different from visualization. So as you believe it, the power of belief. See, beliefs, most people think that beliefs are just things that they have. I believe this, I believe that. They almost can't even tell you where they first got the idea. You want to have an interesting time, take a clipboard and walk down to the nearest shopping center and ask people to name you 3 things that they firmly believe. And maybe if you're lucky, you'll get a really good respondent, and he'll say, I can tell you 3 things I firmly believe. And he'll give you those 3 things. Then say, great, can you tell me when you first came to that understanding? What caused you to have that belief in the first instance? And many people can say, I can't remember where I first came up with that. I've been holding that as a belief for the last 30 or 40 years, and they can't even tell you where they got that idea. So what we need to know is that beliefs are things that we can change whenever we wish to change them. We're not stuck with what we were given to believe when we were 4 years old, or 8 years old, or 20 years old, or 25 years old, or 50 years old, acting as if we were 4 years old. We don't have to hang on to those beliefs. So there's a difference. That's what I meant. The difference between our thoughts or our most firmly held beliefs. As you believe, so will it be done unto you. I promise you. You'll find your life will demonstrate that to you. And then there's the tool I mentioned a minute ago of visualization. To just, and I love to use this tool a lot. I remember after I submitted the book Conversations with God to the publisher, I held in my mind's eye every night for 30 days. I don't know if it was exactly 30 days because I wasn't into form at that point. But I remember for a long time I told myself, I want to visualize my mailbox. This was the visualization. I had this little movie I ran in my mind. I went to the post office box and opened the mailbox, and mail came flooding out. There was so much in there that as soon as I opened the door, it flooded out onto the floor with not just 3 or 4, or 8 or 10 letters, but 50 or 60 letters that had come because I had put in the back of the book my mailing address. Well, you know what? That exact thing came true less than 2 months later. I was getting 30 and 40 and 50 letters a day from people all over the world. In that exact experience, opening the post office drawer, the door, with my key, and as I opened the door, the mail literally fell out onto the floor. And I recall the first time it happened, I thought, my golly, this is a playing out of exactly what I visualized. So just to give you 2 small examples, we could go into a lot more examples, but these are the 2 that come to mind immediately. Your thoughts or your beliefs and the power of visualization are 2 metaphysical tools that you could use on a consistent basis every day of your life. But be careful, because don't be surprised if in about 60 days, nothing's going to change tomorrow morning, but in my experience, but in about 60 days or so, you're going to find that you've learned how to work with the energetics of life at the level of energetics, and that can change everything.
Yes, it can. Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. Thanks for giving those examples, Neale. And I met you back in the late 90s, so I remember that. Remember that when I'm sure that you still have mail streaming in, but it was.
This works great, by the way, in relationships. I just wanted to add this because my mind was telling me to say this. If you're in a relationship and it's not going quite as well as you'd like, you're still very much in love, and it's not. But maybe you've got a little rough patch, and things haven't been going as well as you'd like the past several days or the past several weeks. I'm going to give you a suggestion. Just sit down when you're alone, just by yourself. And give yourself permission to visualize the next 5 or 6 interactions with your spouse and see them exactly as you'd like to see them on the movie screen of your mind, with you two getting along beautifully, with sharing wonderfully soft, gentle, sweet, and loving emotions, maybe even a few words of apology one to the other, and just a scene you're playing out on a stage play or in a movie. And let yourself experience that visualization repeatedly for a bit. And then watch the opportunity to play it out in real life. Watch that opportunity arise before the week goes by. And you'll find that this can do wonders in your personal relationships. Not just your romantic relationships, your relationships with your boss, your friends, your associates, your business partners. You'll find this is a very powerful tool.
If you'd like to receive all of our new podcast episodes, please click on the subscribe button. To find out more about Humanities Team transformational education programs and about how you can help support our mission, please visit us online at humanitiesteam.org, where you can also sign up for our email list so we can let you know about our free online events and other news about what we're up to each week. And again, if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review. Thank you.